Hello there. Previously on Imperium, the Scorpec destroyers of the Bone Collectors unit managed to defeat Pharaoh Ulthar and protect the Necron Overlord's resurrection orb. Now, Harkon Raktet has dispatched his Necron warriors to seize and destroy an Ultramarine supply drop. And let's kick off the action with Necrons Turn 1. And the objective for this battle is to have the most models on top of the container at the end of it. And in the magazine issue 14, it would be at the end of Space Marine Turn 3. But for this one, I'm going to change it up and I'm doing a double battle report. So I'm going to incorporate issues 14 and 15. So it's going to be 4 turns. And at the end of turn 2, either team is going to be getting reinforcements. So in this issue, we're being introduced to terrain and actually moving on it. And the container is about 2.5 inches tall. And the Necrons have a movement of 5 inches. So any that are within 2 inches of the container will be able to get on top of it. And the rest will just move normally. So let's begin with the Gauss Flare unit, moving them 5 inches roughly towards the container, but also trying to get the intercessors here to engage with them. And the ones with the Gauss Reapers, I'll try and get on top of the container. So that one managed to get on top. I've got 2 touching it at the back, and then these 2 have just come round to attempt to get a shot off at the intercessors there. So now onto the shooting. And the unit here with the Gauss Flayers have rapid fire and a range of 24 inches, and they're all within 12 inches of the unit. So they'll be making 2 attacks each instead of the 1. Looking for a 3+ to hit. And then needing 4+ to wound. So only 1 wound with an AP of -1. So we're looking for a 4+ to save. Only getting a 2, so one of the assault intercessors will be taking a wound. So let's give it to that one there. And then onto the Gauss Reaper unit. 3 of those have line of sight with 2 shots each. Looking for a 3+ to hit. So 4 hits, and they're looking for a 3+ to wound. So 1 wound, and they have an AP of -2. So the intercessor's looking for a 5+ to save. Only getting a 4, so they'll be taking another wound. And as each of them have 2 wounds, we'll just remove this one from play. So we'll be saying goodbye to Rufius Aurelius, and now we'll be moving on to the charge phase. And the Gauss Flare unit here are 6 inches away from the closest intercessor. So let's roll to see if they make that. Only getting a 4, so charge is failed. So that'll be the end of Necron's Turn 1, onto Space Marines Turn 1. So let's move them towards the Gauss Flare unit. Staying just outside of engagement range. And then we'll attempt to shoot and see what damage we can do. And we'll begin with Sergeant Cosmin Lucullus, as he has a plasma pistol that we're going to supercharge. So he's looking for a 3+ to hit and hoping not to get a 1. Gets the hit, and then because it's supercharged, he only needs a 2+ to wound. Getting the 3, and that has an AP of -3. So the Necron warrior is unable to make the save, and it is doing 2 damage. So let's remove one of these Necron warriors straight away. And then we'll roll for the remaining intercessors, who each have heavy bolt pistols and are looking for a 3+ to hit. So 2 hits. And then looking for a 4+ to wound. So 1 wound, and as the Necron warriors only have 1 wound, we'll be removing another one. And I'll remove the furthest one away from them in order to make it easier for the charge. Actually, scrap that, I didn't make the save roll. And the heavy bolt pistol has an AP of -1. So the Necron warrior is looking for a 5+ to save, which he fails, so he was out anyway. So now onto the charge. And the furthest one away is 7 inches, so I'll be fair and roll for that, which they easily make. So let's go for 2 1-on-1s and 1 2-on-1. And they've all got Astartes chainswords, so we're looking for 3+ to hit. So 3 hits, and we're looking for 4+ to wound. So 2 wounds with an AP of -1. So the Necrons are looking for 5+ to save. Making 1 but failing 1. So we remove this Necron warrior, as it means we can get to the Munitorium container easier. And now the Necron warriors get a chance to fight back using the blades attached to their flayers. They're looking for a 3+ to hit, failing both. So that will be the end of Space Marines turn 1, onto Necrons turn 2. And let's start that by moving these 2 Gauss Reaper warriors up on top of the container, so that they've got line of sight of the assault intercessors. And these 2 Gauss Flayer warriors are going to fall back towards their comrades. So they won't be able to shoot, but the Gauss Reapers can. And they'll have 10 shots, looking for 3+ to hit. So 8 hits, and looking for a 4+ to wound. So 3 wounds with an AP of -2. So the intercessors are looking for 5+ to save. Making 2 saves and failing 1. So we'll be giving 1 wound to the closest intercessor there, and that is Castor Torrentus. And now the shooting's done, the Gauss Reaper unit are going to attempt to make a charge. So we've got 1 inch movement across, 2.5 down, and then 4 inches from the bottom. So they'll be needing to make a roll of an 8 in order to make that charge, which they make. So 5 attacks, looking for a 3+ to hit. So 3 hits, and looking for a 4+ to wound. So no wounds, but that does mean that the intercessors get a chance to attack back. So they've got 3 attacks, looking for a 3+ to hit. 2 hits, and looking for a 4+ to wound. 1 wound with an AP of -1. So the Necron's looking for a 5+ to save, which they get. So no wounds anywhere that turn. So that's the end of Necron's turn 2, onto Space Marines turn 2, and it's the last turn before the reinforcements arrive. And these 3 are already in engagement. So what I'll do is shoot with this one, and then we'll move him in. So he's looking for a 3+ to hit, and a 4+ to wound, and that has an AP of -1, so the Necron's looking for a 5+ to save, which they fail. So I'll be getting rid of this one here. So now the Gauss Reaper unit's down to 4, and the Flayers are down to 2. So let's charge him in, and he's looking for 3, easily making it. So let's jump into the fight phase. And the intercessors have 4 attacks, looking for a 3+ to hit, only failing 1, and looking for a 4+ to wound, again failing 1. So 2 wounds with an AP of -1, so the Necron's looking for 5s to save, saving 1 and failing the other. So let's remove another Gauss Reaper. So now let's attack back with the Gauss Reaper unit, with their 3 attacks, looking for a 3+ to hit, failing 1, and looking for a 4+ to wound. Failing 1. And that has no AP, so the intercessor's looking for a 3+ to save. Making a save, so no wounds. And we'll end Space Marines turn 2 by consolidating with Sergeant Lucullus. And that one, just keeping unit coherency, but moving them just outside of engagement range. And that's the end of Space Marines turn 2, which means it's time to bring in the reinforcements. And the first of the Necron reinforcements is the Royal Warden, Harken Raktet. And he's going to be facing off against Primaris Captain Pharaoh Ulthar. And the next Necron reinforcement is this unit of Flayed Ones. And these are new to the channel, which means they're going to be given away to one of my Patreon supporters. And if you'd like to be in with a chance of getting any of the models from the upcoming issues, then check out the link in the description. And to face off against those, we're bringing in Squad Martellus. And we're also bringing back Rufius Aurelius. And then when the next intercessor from Squad Lucullus dies, he'll be brought back as well to join this unit. And now that the reinforcements have arrived, let's dive into Necron turn 3. And we'll begin by getting Harken Raktet into the action. So let's just move him 6 inches forward. And then I'm going to do a tactical movement with the Gauss Flare unit and move them towards the intercessors here. So hopefully they can hold these up long enough for the Flayed Ones to come in, do some damage and keep the Space Marines away from the container. So let's move the Flayed Ones 5 inches forward, and they've only got melee attacks, so they won't bother trying to get on top of the container. And that is it for the movement, so let's do some shooting and we'll see if Harken Raktet can inflict any wounds on Pharaoh Ulthar. He is only 10 inches away, which means he's well within half range. So with his rapid fire ability, he's going to be doing 4 attacks instead of 2. Looking for a 3+ to hit. So failing 1 but making 3. And looking for a 3+ to wound. So getting 2 wounds with an AP of -2. So Captain Ulthar is looking for 5s to save. So he makes 1 save but fails 1. And Harken Raktet's Relic Gauss Blaster does 2 damage. So he'll be taking 2 wounds, meaning he's now down to 4 remaining. And then let's see what the Necron Warriors with their Gauss Flayers can do. And they also have rapid fire and are clearly within half range. So I'll have 4 attacks looking for a 3+ to hit. Failing 1. And looking for a 4+ to wound. Again failing 1, so making 2 wounds with an AP of -1. So the intercessors are looking for 4+ to save. So only making 1 save and 2 wounds are going through. So we'll be removing Brother Manius from play. And that is it for the Necron shooting. So let's move on to the charges. But now let's test out the new Flayed Ones and see what they can do. And the furthest one is 7 inches away. So let's roll for that. Easily making it. So they are able to end their charge in that formation. So now we can move on to the fighting. And we'll begin with the Flayed Ones because I want to test them out. And they each have 3 attacks looking for a 3+ to hit. So 10 hits, but also we've got 2 6s, and the Flayed Ones have a Flesh Hunger ability, which means that each time a model in this unit makes a melee attack, an unmodified hit roll of 6 scores an additional hit. So let's add 2 more back into that. and they are looking for 4+ to wound. So 9 wounds with an AP of -1. So the intercessors are looking for 4+ to save. So they're making 4 saves, but we'll be taking 5 wounds. So he'll be going, and as I said, the first one to die from that unit will be joining this unit. So he's now reassigned over there. So that's 2 wounds. He has already got 1 wound, so he's out of the game. Luckily for the Space Marines, Sergeant Lucullus and Ignatius Lupus are outside of engagement range, so they won't be taking any wounds this turn. So now let's settle the Necron Warriors fight with the Intercessors here, and they're looking for a 3+ to hit. So 1 hit, and looking for a 4+ to wound. Failing that, so no wound. So now the Intercessors here will get a chance to fight back, and they're looking for a 3+ to hit. So 2 successful, and looking for a 4+ to wound. So 2 wounds with an AP of -1. So Necron Warriors are looking for 5s to save. So making 1 save and failing 1, so another Necron Warrior is out of the game. And to finish off Necron turn 3, the Flayed Ones are just going to consolidate and move just outside of engagement range. Of each of the remaining Intercessors of Squad Lucullus. And that is the end of Necron's turn 3, onto Space Marines turn 3. And we'll begin by moving Captain Ulthar, who fancies his chances in combat against Harken Raktat. And then the Intercessors are going to remain where they are, because Squad Martellus is already in engagement range, but Squad Lucullus is just outside of engagement range, so they're going to shoot before they move in. So let's start with them. And Sergeant Lucullus is going to use the supercharge on his plasma pistol. So he's looking for a 3+ to hit. Getting a 6. So now looking for a 2+ to wound. Getting a 4. And that has a AP of -3, which means that the Flayed Ones aren't going to be able to make the save. So we can remove 1 from play straight away. And now let's see if Ignatius can wipe out another Flayed One. Again looking for a 3+ to hit. Only getting a 1. Unsuccessful shooting from him. Let's see if Brother Uros, who's the only one out of this unit who isn't in engagement range, can use his shooting to take out the Necron Warrior with the Gauss Flayer, so that then this unit can charge into the Flayed Ones. So again, 1 attack looking for a 3+ to hit. Making the hit, and looking for a 4+ to wound, which he gets, and that has an AP of -1, so the Flayed One is looking for a 5 to save, which he fails. So let's remove another Flayed One from play, and then that just leaves Captain Ulthar to see what his plasma pistol can do against Harken Raktat, and he's going to supercharge that as well. So he's looking for a 2+ to hit and hoping not to get a 1. Getting a 5, and looking for a 3+ to wound, which he makes. So now being supercharged, that has an AP of -3. So Harken Raktat's looking for a 6 to save, which he fails, and that will be doing 2 damage, which puts him onto 2 wounds remaining. I'm just going to rewind there, because when I was making the shot with Brother Uros, I said I was targeting the Necron Warrior here, so he's removed from play, and that Flayed One is back in. So now we can move on to the charge phase, beginning with Squad Martellus here, who are going to attempt to charge into the Flayed Ones, who are only 4 inches away. So that charge fails, which means we're now onto the fight phase, and And Brother Ventress is just close enough to be able to pile in, so he'll pile into that Flayed One, whilst Ignatius piles in to that Flayed One, and Sergeant Lucullus will pile in to that Flayed One, and Captain Ulthar will pile in to Harken Raktet. And that is where we'll begin our fight. And with his mastercrafted power sword, Pharaoh Ulthar has 5 attacks, looking for a 2+ to hit. So only failing 1, and looking for a 4+ to wound. So 1 wound, with an AP of -3, meaning that Harken's needing 6 to save, which he fails, so he'll be taking another wound. So he is now down to 1 wound remaining, and he'll attempt to fight back now. And he has 3 attacks, looking for a 3+ to hit. So failing 2 but making 1, and looking for a 3+ to wound, which he gets, and that has no AP. So Ferio is just looking for a 3+ to save, which he makes, so he won't be taking any wounds this turn. So now we have 3 intercessors on 3 Flayed Ones, and they have 3 attacks looking for a 3+ to hit. So failing 1 but making 2, and looking for 4+ to wound. So making 1 but failing 1, and that has an AP of -1, so the Flayed One is looking for 5+ to save, which he gets, so no wounds there. And the Flayed Ones will now attempt to fight back, and they each have 3 attacks, looking for a 3+ to hit, only failing 1, and looking for a 4+ to wound. So failing 3, which means we have 5 successful wounds, all on a 4, and they have an AP of -1. So the intercessors are looking for 4+ to save. And they're failing 3. So I'll be removing Ignatius and giving 1 wound to Brother Ventress. And that's the end of Space Marines turn 3, on to Necrons turn 4. And due to living metal, Harken Raktet gets 1 wound back. So he's now on to 2 wounds. And as it's the Necron's last turn, they're going to attempt to secure the objective. So the Gauss Reaper unit is going to be moving back to the container. This one is close enough that it can move on top, whilst the other 2 will just move in contact with it. And then the 2 Flayed Ones that aren't engaged will move towards Squad Martellus here, remaining just outside of engagement range. Just turn him around. And then I believe that as these 3 members of Squad Martellus are currently the only models on the Space Marines team that aren't currently engaged, that they are the only ones that the Gauss Reaper unit can fire at. So let's attempt that now. And these 2 are the only ones that are visible and within range. The one up on the top there is outside of shooting range, so he won't be doing anything, it'll just be these 2. And they have 2 shots each, looking for a 3+ to hit. So making 2 and failing 2, and they're looking for a 4+ to wound. Both wounds successful, and they have an AP of -2, so the intercessors are looking for 5+ to save. So making 1 save but failing 1. So I'll give 1 wound there, and that's it for the shooting. And there'll be no charging in this turn, so let's just move straight onto the fighting. And we'll begin with Harken Raktet, who has 3 attacks looking for a 3+ to hit, only making 1 hit, and looking for a 3+ to wound, which he gets, and that has no AP. So Ferio Ulthar is looking for a 3+ to save, which he fails, so he'll be taking another wound. So now Ferio Ulthar is onto 3 wounds, meaning he's got 3 remaining, and it is Space Marines go for an attack. So he will now attempt to fight back, and he has 5 attacks with his mastercrafted power sword, looking for a 2+ to hit. So failing 2 but making 3, and looking for a 4+ to wound, only making 1, and that has an AP of -3. So Harken will be looking for 6s to save, which he fails, and that does 2 damage, which means that Harken Raktet is out of the game now. That may turn the tides and could even lead to Space Marine's first victory in a while. So now let's continue the attacks, and we'll move on to this Flayed One against Sergeant Lucullus, who with his Flayer Claws has 3 attacks, looking for a 3+ to hit, failing all of them. So now Sergeant Lucullus will fight back, and with his Astartes Chainsword he has 2 attacks. Actually no, as he's a sergeant he has 3 attacks, looking for a 3+ to hit. So failing 2 but making 1, and looking for a 4+ to wound, which he also fails. So no wounds there. So now we've got these 3 Flayed Ones against Squad Martellus here. So again with their Flayer Claws they have 3 attacks each, looking for 3+ to hit. So only failing 1, and looking for 4+ to wound. So failing 5 but 3 successful, and that has a AP of -1. So the intercessors are looking for 4+ to save. So they're making 2 and failing 1, which means we'll be removing this Space Marine here. That unit's down to 3. They will get their chance to fight back now, and each of them have 2 attacks, looking for a 3+ to hit, making all of them, and looking for 4+ to wound. So failing 3. So the Flayed Ones have 3 saves to make, and with an AP of -1 they're looking for 5s to save, only making 1 save, which means 2 wounds are going through, so another 2 Flayed Ones are going off the board, meaning that it's the end of Necron's turn 4, onto Space Marine's turn 4. And I've just realised that I didn't pay any attention to the unit coherency of the Flayed Ones, who are currently 4 inches apart, so hopefully that doesn't have too much effect on the outcome of this game. So let's just go straight into the movement phase, and I'll begin with Captain Ferrier there, who will be moving 6 inches towards the container. And then I can't do anything with Sergeant Lucullus or Brother Ventress, as they're already in engagement range, but I can move Brother Uros and Erasmus Elva there. So let's move them forward but keep within unit coherency. And now we're on to the shooting. So we'll begin with Captain Ulthar, who's going to attempt to take out the Gauss Reaper on top of the container there. And he's supercharging his plasma pistol. And the battery's just died on my other camera, so I'll try and roll it in shot here. So he's looking for a 2+ to hit, getting a 5, and now looking for a 2+ to wound, which he makes. And since that has an AP of -3, the Necron Warrior is unable to make the save, so he'll be removed from the game. And now for the only other 2 models that can shoot, and they'll also be aiming for the Gauss Reaper unit, and they're looking for 3+ to hit, getting a 3 and a 1, so making 1 and failing the other, and then looking for a 4+ to wound, which they fail, so no more wounds there. So now let's move on to the charge phase, and Space Marines are going to go for the victory here. 6, 8. So if Pharaoh Ulthar can make a 9 on this charge roll, then we'll end up with 1 Space Marine on top of the container, and that could just be enough for them to win. Only getting a 6, which means that he can charge the Gauss Reaper at the bottom there, but he won't be able to make it on top of the container unless he's able to consolidate later. And then as we're Now wanting to actually finish within unit coherency, I'm just going to move these two intercessors to surround this Flayed One, so that at least they can attempt to wipe him out of the game. And I'm just going to make sure that I finish with Ferio touching the container, so that if he does consolidate, then he'll be on top of it. So now let's move on to the fight phase. And we'll start with Squad Martellus here, who with their Astartes chainswords have 2 attacks each. Looking for a 3+ to hit. So making 2 but failing 4. And then looking for a 4+ to wound. So 2 wounds there with an AP of -1, so the Flayed One is looking for 5+ to save. Getting a 5 and a 6, making both saves, so he won't be taking a wound. And he now has a chance to fight back. And he has 3 attacks looking for a 3+ to hit. Getting 1 6 but failing the other 2. But that means because of his Flesh Hunger ability, that 6 is scoring an additional hit. So that's 2 hits looking for a 4+ to wound. Getting 1 wound with an AP of -1, so the intercessor's looking for a 4+ to save. And getting a 6, so making the save. So there'll be no wounds there. So now let's move on to Sergeant Lucullus, who has 3 attacks with his chainsword, looking for a 3+ to hit. So 1 6 and failing the other 2, and looking for a 4+ to wound. Getting the 5, and with an AP of -1, the Flayed One is looking for 5+ to save. Only getting a 2, so he'll be removed from the game. And now he can consolidate, so let's just measure to see which enemy unit is closest. And they're both 3 inches away, so he'll consolidate 3 inches towards this one. So now, to determine whether Space Marines can get the victory, Captain Ulthar must destroy this Gauss Reaper so that he can consolidate on top of the container. And he has 5 attacks looking for a 2+ to hit. So failing 2 but making 3. And now looking for a 3+ to wound, which he gets all 3. And as that has an AP of -3, the Necron Warrior is unable to make the save. So he is automatically out of the game. So that's it, he's done it. And now he can consolidate 3 inches up on top of the container. And that is a Space Marine victory. And congratulations to Jack, my latest Patreon supporter, who is now the sponsor and eventual owner of this unit of Flayed Ones. Again, I'll leave the link in the description for that. Thanks for watching, like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.